But yeah, I'm just surprised that the Swain didn't end up moving a little bit sooner. Here is now Jana, no flash.
Heal, flash, auto attack, first blood. Froggy is the one to pick that one up, and Evelyn Bot is in the area. Descent does drop the Rift Guard. They're going to look to engage. It's going to be a Cataclysm getting dropped down, but Veigar got pulled into the Cataclysm, which could be trouble.
Ooh.
Down goes Evelyn Bot. Down goes the Veigar as well. Hugs Descent and the support on the one side, but they're going to be the ones to get engaged on. Ultimate coming out for the Malphite onto the Veigar, but the Veigar is still okay for right now. He's going to try to flash the rest of his team as Evelyn Bot is on the look. The Caitlyn was left all alone on the backside, and no free hugs is now left all alone with everybody else from Farmingdale.
That's game!
Both of them are level 4. No Zillion bombs are available right now, which means French Delta Force is going to be able to get in. There's the flash, but the flag and drag lands, and El Unicornio in a lot of trouble. French Delta Force not able to get the kill. That one's going to go over to Huracan. Veigar doesn't quite know where he is. Has spotted him out. Here comes the Jarvan over the wall. Multiple members over the wall now as they're trying to get as much damage as possible. French Delta Force able to get the first kill. Now, bearing down on to the Xayah. They are going to get revived by the Zillion, but weak side. It just means they're a sitting duck to give more kills.
There's nothing. Yeah, they quite literally.
Malphite getting in there on multiple members here. Weak side is now starting to join the fight here. Somebody's in stasis, somebody's resurrecting, but it doesn't just matter. They're just all meant to die to Veigar. It's a double kill for weak side, a double kill for French Delta Force. They get a kill back.
Leave the old man alone!
But they are going to be able to close out onto the Zillion. The cherry on top for Froggy and Farmingdale State College.
Holding on to this stock at 160.
Oh yeah, both of these guys is decently heavyweight. Gonna be seeing very large percentages. And the back ear from Matt Fat managing to take it right there.
I see it too. Oh, good forward air tipper there. Hope should be able to recover from this unless you get countered. Dags with a huge opener there.
But Splat says, listen, I need you to get right back off stage. It's nice that you want to get here. You gotta go.
And the block, I think, actually helps Splat there. Again, falling because the second hit of that.
I didn't get to show out last time the way I wanted to. I'll do it.
He's all warmed up now, but he will drop that stock this time around. Gordo up tilt, a week where they went to set number 3.
Welcome here, everyone, to the start of the second to last week of the Esports U here. We are here with the ECAC finishing up their season. Next week will be the finals, but right now we're getting into seeding. These are two teams that have already qualified for playoffs and are hoping to make their mark, going out on a couple wins. My name is Orbital. With me is the best minion to ever wander off the rift. It is Random Minion Caster, and we will be covering this series, this best of 3 here tonight. RMC, how you doing?
Excited, Orbital, because as you know, ECAC Swiss format, so the later we go, the better the matches, and we've got one near the top of the table. We've got the George Washington University Revolutionaries up against Penn State Behrend Varsity. And Orbital, GWU, they're currently 5-1. They don't feel like they should be 5-1. They feel like they should be 6-0. They dropped one series to Albany, and they're looking to close this season out clean.
And looking at Penn State, Behrend, they're looking a little bit rough for wear. Yes, they're at the top of the standings, but they have gone through a couple communication, some hiccups along the way, but I do assume that closing out the season, we'll see them really gel together and get ready for that playoff section.
For sure. Now, let's talk a little bit about both of these teams because they're from somewhat similar backgrounds in that both of them are clubs and they have a lot of changes to their roster, kind of new rosters for both of these teams. We'll start with George Washington University because they have a change tonight as well, Orbital. Their entire roster has pretty much changed from last year, but tonight they bring back one of their legacy players from last year, Sneaky Beagle, their jungler. So not only do you have change in the roster's kind of maybe gelled together, but now you've got one new person coming in. And I spoke to their coach, Superman, a little bit, and he was saying that they have had some shot calling issues in terms of being more aggressive, proactive. He's hoping Sneaky Beagle will change that, but when you're changing your jungler, then communications becomes an even bigger issue if they're also the one who's looking to shot call.
Well, hopefully they do mesh very, very well as we get into things here into week number 7. Once again, Behrend will start out on the blue, and this, of course, is going to be the start. I love the Poppy Band. This is exactly straight at execution in the top side, and then the Aatrox against that top side as well. Cam Bam not allowed. Those two very unique, I wouldn't say Aatrox is unique or Poppy, but still very targeted.
Okay, so I think the names have been swapped because execution's on Behrend and Cam Bam Slam Bam is actually on GWU. But yeah, a lot of focus right to top lane from the get-go. I like the Zoe focus as well onto You Can Rest Now because You Can Rest Now has a bunch of melee style champions. It's like Irelia, Yasuo, Yone, Sylas, and then you've got something like Zoe. So it tells me that maybe Behrend wants to be able to face the sort of more melee matchups. They might have an answer to that. They don't want to deal with the long range that Zoe puts out.
And taking a look, following through, it's still top lane focus coming out here. The Cassante band away, which is, again, appropriate of the top ranking meta picks. Cassante is one of them. Senna as well, targeted towards that bot lane, saying, hey, we can't really, or we don't want to deal with that flexibility. Looking for that first pick, a lot on the table, and it's gonna be a tried and true method, the J4, to bring it on.
Yeah, just strong jungler, really good ganks, a lot of utility. I wouldn't be surprised to see GW try and take away the Orianna in a situation like this because Orianna J4 has become such a strong combo. But Orbital, those bans Behrend put out, they missed the Rek'Sai, Sneaky Beagle's most played champion. And remember, Sneaky Beagle's substituting in, so perhaps Behrend didn't have the tape, wasn't aware that that is a very potent pick in the hands of GW.
You gotta love it. You gotta love having that fantastic pick. However, if you look on Behrend's side, maybe they're like, hey, we have that answer, being able to knock around, but it's still like, you know, if it's that good, why don't you take it away? The Xayah to come out here, I think, is appropriate. You know the J4 automatically signals a go-in composition. You need that safety. Appropriate response. Kai'Sa still to follow up, though, saying, hey, we're going to take a little bit of a Void. If you got a Void Monster, we'll take the Void Hunter. Following up behind the Rakan pickup, I think, is appropriate. Looking at GWU, a little bit of a question mark what they want to grab next.
Yeah, I like the Rakan as well. You know, take away, break up the Livers duo. I'm not a fan of the Kai'Sa, though, Orbo. I know that the sort of AD Kai'Sa can potentially burst down a Xayah very, very quickly, but I still don't think it's a great answer. And Sylas is interesting for GWU, Orbital, because the support, Sohwa, a big fan of Keria, likes off-meta supports and has actually played Sylas in the ECAC in the support role. So this is a flex. We mentioned You Can Rest Now plays it, but so does Sohwa. And now for Behrend, which do you ban out, or do you continue pinching that top pool? You only threw one ban at it.
Well, taking a look here, it is actually going to look towards that mid a little bit. Nefiri, one of the few two matchups that we actually see Nefiri in the champ pool, which is quite fun. The Darius following up behind, I think, is still appropriate, targeting kind of those specialty pickups here. And especially on the counter pick side, I think this is right by Behrend. We don't want to give that power pick if it's possible. Now it is going to be the Pot Blossom the end away, sadly. No cloaking, no camouflage here today.
Yeah, and for Behrend, the Darius ban I think was a really good one. I don't know how much more you want to keep throwing to the top lane. You want to ban the Darius because of the fact that Execution can play a lot of carries in that top lane, and you want to be able to survive the laning phase. Yeah, so I think the Darius takeaway is good, and then they go back down to that support role. So they're banking that Sylas is in the mid lane and not the support. Now GW has to pick and kind of show their hand, and it will be support Sylas. It's Orianna, that pick we are talking about earlier, Orbital, actually fell to second pick phase. Behrend just kind of let it slide.
And I think that's appropriate. Again, Orianna is strong, don't get me wrong. However, if you have priority, you know, specialty picks, you're going to grab those. The Syndra to come out, this is a tried and true mid lane matchup. We kind of know how it leans, so this is where we're questioning everything right now. Cam Bam goes ahead and locks in that horn, saying not too much given away, at least for game number 1. This is where we're going to see some fun. GWU, you have a lot on the table. You tried to ban him out. You tried to say, hey, let's go ahead and lock you down. it ain't gonna happen too much. What do you grab? So much on the table to focus on, and a lot of opportunity for squishy kills as well. I like the Camille talk. It's going to be a Renekton lock in early game bullying to come out.
That's a little bit interesting to me overall, because we don't usually see the Renekton Ornn matchup where the Renekton gets picked later. A lot of times you see the Ornn actually picked as a counter to Renekton, in that you can kind of match the early game a little bit. Sure, you're not expected to outright win it, but Ornn can often, you know, suffice through that and then outscale. And then you look at what else Behrend has, right? The Syndra as well, strong scaling there. Strong overall team fighting. There are a lot of different engage tools. Then you look across to GWU a little bit. A lot of specialty picks, right? You've got the Rek'Sai jungle, you've got the Sylas support. Not things you see very frequently, but it works with this composition. They're all ball delivery methods for this Orianna, and throughout all of this, Xayah is the big issue for me. Well, the issue for Behrend, actually, because Xayah is really good at kiting backwards. She's really good at team fighting. Behrend wants to go in, and with all the bodies in front of her, because everybody else is kind of tanky, everybody else wants to be in front of her, except maybe the Orianna, who gives her a shield. I'm just not seeing a good way for them to really punish the Xayah in team fights, and I'm not seeing an alternative style of play for Behrend other than team fights.
It felt like Behrend, when they picked up the J4, they said, okay, we're looking at that all-in composition. The Xayah came out, and they're like, we got two choices. Either switch up our style that we're going to go for, or hard commit, you know, the 150%. And they're going for the 150. They said, we don't care about the Xayah. And this is going to be that litmus test. I think, in the grand scheme of things, I love the fact that you pointed this out. If you're facing off against a specialty picks, a team of specialty picks, that's two main draws that are a problem, because number one, you can't really plan for specialty. If you have to allocate bans to specialties, all of a sudden the meta becomes open. It's such a demoralizer. So this first game for Behrend, I think, is going to be very key.
Yeah, I will say, though, I think Behrend's going to be very comfortable with this draft. In isolation, it does perfectly fine as well. What I'm very curious about, actually, was the junglers. Coming into tonight overall, I was actually looking at specific lane GW mid-jungle, because we mentioned Sneaky Beagle is newer to this particular roster. Coming in, this will be his first game this season with this roster. I had thought that's where I'd be looking, and I still am, because he's got a specialty Rek'Sai. But for the side of Behrend, I was actually going to look at their bot lane, where Your Cheese is the captain, and the sole remaining member from last year. Jackie Love, his AD carry, has been a big star for this team, the big carry. And Your Cheese had nothing to say but good things about this AD carry and what they can do in lane and in team fights. But now I'm looking at, I don't even know how you pronounce Behrend's jungler's name.
It's Unger, baby. Unger, baby. Let's go.
Unger Baby it is.
Yeah, I feel it works. I feel it works. I don't know.
Okay, I'm looking at Unger Baby right now with the J4, because that's an early ganking jungler. And more importantly, you need to keep this Rek'Sai down. Rek'Sai can very easily gank the Syndra, can very easily gank the Kai'Sa as well. And in this top lane, because you've got the Renekton, you can look up there. So I feel like it's about the jungles and who gets control early.
Well, of course, game one is a great way to kind of put it onto the Rift. Go ahead and give us a taste of what for as we get into game number one. Looking there once again, it is Penn State Behrend to start off on the blue side, and GWU on that red. To keep in mind, GWU looking to go ahead and tack on another victory, look to push themselves ever higher in the standings rankings, because here in about a week or two, you're headed into playoffs, and you want that higher seed all the time. And with how many teams are in this league, a single series, nay, a single game can mean the difference between getting a bye and facing off against a second opponent.
I think there's currently a 7-way tie for third
that
Penn State Behrend is kind of mixed in there. So we'll just swing his chains, getting ready to find anybody. On the other hand, GWU, it's worth noting that they are not mixed into that massive tie. They are sole second right now. So they want to keep themselves above the mess. A win here would keep them in first place and potentially tie them for first, depending on how the U-Albany game goes, which I believe is on the other Esports U stream.
I love the fact as well, getting into this game though, Knight not running cleanse, my dumb brain would absolutely run cleanse here. I don't care if I have a good getaway ult, I need that secondary behind, right? You are going Flash Ghost, signals that you are confident, number one, and willing to chase down. It is an expectation that you will have a little bit of an advancement in that bot lane. So I'm very, very curious to see how that breaks down. As you said, still looking over at Jackie Love and I'm in Your Cheese. Those are two that we're also watching. Before the start, it'll be a simple setup. Junglers starting on opposite sides, taking their red buffs apiece.
Okay, overall, since you mentioned cleanse, I got to get on my soapbox for a little bit, because I feel like people complain about power creep. I complain about CC creep. Knockups have become standard Oh, I don't think we're gonna. Actually, Soulfog gets exhausted.
You're just talking about knockups, and it does so much there. As Seohwa is dropped down to 100 HP from getting knocked up. You can't cleanse that. That's true.
I think you could have killed right there if Jackie Love just all in on the ghost. But you know what? That's fine. Soulfog's still kind of low. They can always go in again, and they were waiting for Baby to come in down to that bot lane.
Go ahead and garble out that name because they are putting on the pressure. You better be saying the J4's name time and time again. But go back to the soapbox. Step back up there.
Okay. So knockups have become just so prevalent. Like, I'm looking at Penn State Behrend's team. What are you cleansing on this team? There's hardly any stuns. There's hardly any roots. Ornn, 2 knockups. J4, knockup and terrain. Sintra's the only stun, and even that has a small knockup component. Kaisa doesn't have CC, doesn't matter. Rakan, more knockups and a charm. So maybe you cleanse the charm. But it's primarily knockups. Cleanse as a spell has lost so much value. Maybe if you see a Leona, but even then, Nautilus is still more frequently seen. Junglers popping up in mid and in bot. Nothing happens for now, but they know where each other are.
It's actually going to work to the advantage of DW, forcing out of that laning phase and out of the river. And containing that J4, remember, stopping those initial ganks is huge. You want to shut down about, I would say, half of a J4's power. This is appropriate. You don't let that first gank get off without a hitch.
Okay, we have to standardize that name somehow overall, because that
No.
sounds like we're choking
No.
right
We're
now.
going to keep guessing until someone yells at us. That's what's going to happen. We're going to keep going until someone yells at us.
That will come sooner than later. You know, I'm just gonna call him Baby for now. You know, like BB at the end, that's pronounceable. UK Baby.
I'm calling him Letters. I'm calling him Letters. That's what I'm gonna say.
Letters?
Whatever you. Yeah, Letters.
Okay, Letters it is. And hopefully the team will let us know if they want us to change the name there. Letters has been roaming around, and I appreciate that in a J4, actively looking for ganks. But look at the vision line from both these teams as well. Sneaky Bagel is there, but they saw him in the coming round the corner part of me there. So yeah, sure, a ghost has to be burnt from Jackie Love, but they still survived the gank. Sneaky Beagle being sneaky. Can he do it again?
I mean, I think you can, but there's enough time for Jackie Love to actually get out. You're actually looking for Seal to try and land those chains. Has not been successful, by the way. A really big and good job by Behrend to play around that minion wave multiple times, stuffing out that extra bit of knockup, that extra bit of CC. But now they go over the wall. Jackie Love getting rounded out. Great knockup to follow through. Seohwa is also low. That'll be first blood. We said it was a dangerous tactic in this unique pick at the start does not yield results. First blood going the way of Jackie Love.
And overall, that was why I was a bit hesitant, why I wanted Sneaky Beagle to be the one to engage. Because Sneaky Beagle was full health, had the flash up and available as well, but great hands from Jackie Love. And this is why I'm in your cheese was singing his praises, saying that he's improved so much in that clutch moment, flashed appropriately, made sure it didn't get caught, and turned onto Seohwa. And unfortunately for Seohwa, let's not forget, the Silas was picked after they saw the Rakan. So they knew what they were going to be playing that one into. That's not the easiest matchup because Rakan is so mobile. Silas does struggle to engage early. Later on, Silas will outscale, but it takes time. And now this bot lane is not going to feel very good for the Xayah Silas.
Not at all. It hurts. It hurts to see not just in the kills, but the CS differential. But on the other side, we're seeing some standout moments as well. KMM has slowly accrued a 25 CS lead in the top side, looking at 30 in the mid lane rest, giving 0 rest over to Reaper, getting a first back off, ensuring that they got the blasting wand for that extra bit of oomph in front of that ball. So, you know, for the early kill that went down below, it's still looking even, only 200 gold difference between these two teams.
True, I'm actually shocked. I didn't realize that Kambam had taken over this top lane. There were no ganks in top lane either. You can rest now, at least got some pressure from Sneaky Beagle. Not real significant damage, but the pressure was there to cover. But in the top lane, this is a 1v1 solo, and execution has to be so careful right now. You're down a level, and so you can't step up beyond your turret.
And the fact, I have to say, that KMM has done this without any items in pocket. Take a look at Execution's, you know, inventory. You were able to pick up extra pieces, and you're still that far behind, not only in XP. That shows that even with item comparison, KMM was able to put so much pressure down there. So good.
Yeah, and unfortunately for you, that's just how Ornn operates. Right? Yeah, you're going to get items,
Right.
but the early game, you need to trade rather aggressively, especially against the likes of Renekton, to give threat so that your team can follow up. Sneaky Beagle came up top, was sat on top of a ward. So all Penn State Behrend was aware of where this Rek'Sai has been, and I feel like as much as I've been talking about the junglers Orbital, it hasn't been about the junglers. It's actually just kind of been about the lanes and what sort of pressure they've been able to make.
I think this first dragon might be the telling signs for the junglers, though. You take a look at it, it is Hextech. It has been on the map for about 2.5 minutes, and I think that's why we keep seeing these junglers kind of take a look at this bot side, at least for letters, right? This is now the third time that they have attempted to come down here, hasn't even taken a glimpse towards mid or top side. And the ping's actually going down by GW to look at this dragon, so they are going to meet in something that I'm not sure if they actually meant to. A flash knockup lands on the Xiaohua, who has the flash come up just in time. No roots come out with the feathers. The Sneaky Beagle ready to draw some aggro as well. Ghost going to be used to come on down, and not Ghost, but over the Rift Scuttle. Rest showing up to provide some support. Enough time for Reaper to get a push off.
Yeah, Rest had pressure in that mid lane, so is able to kind of cheat and roam down a little bit. But I'm surprised. I thought that Sneaky Beagle was actually able to capture the location, roughly, of letters, but without the vision, I suppose they weren't sure it was Amin or Cheese or whether it was the J4 kind of moving around on the side there. And on this bot side of the map, Behrend still has that pressure, but as you mentioned, Orbital, they're not going for the dragon. Despite the fact that bot lane's going their way, they're not comfortable, they're not confident that the 4v4 would go their way. Shockwave is ready and available for You Can Rest now, and again, look, You Can Rest now moves first.
Be a good catch. Feathers go out and into the root. The quickness just coming online might be enough to save their ADC, and they do. Jackie Love survives, but only level 5 on Unknown, and because of that, Unknown has to back away. Rest coming down just for moral support, but honestly quite a bit expended by GW, not resulting in a kill.
Yeah, but it should result on the dragon this time, Orbital, because you know you forced back Jackie Love. You know that Letters isn't going to stick around without that damage. So a win for GW, but a costly one. Top side, the two top laners are going at it. Flashes are available, so I'm not expecting kills unless somebody overextends.
As we go back to quiet, Dragon taken away. Next one is a Cloud Dragon, one of the most sought after. No, not really, actually. One of the most least sought after. Yeah, that's true. The sneaky best, but that's always the unfortunate part. No one really wants to go for it off the rip, especially only one. Kind of feels bad, right? It's like, oh, okay, you only get what is it? Is it because they nerfed it, right? They nerfed it again with the individual dragons, only like 2 or 3% move speed.
I was thinking about it, but I'm not even going to try. I don't particularly care for Cloud Drakes. Personally, I don't really understand why his highest win rate, but it do be what it do be. What interests me far more, Orbital, is the Herald. Because bot side, I thought Behrend could actually look to contest a little bit on that dragon with the bot lane pressure that they have. Top side, though, I don't think they should have any right to contest this. Kambam is so far ahead, and in the mid lane, you can see that You Can Rest now is perfectly fine to trade, and we've said time and time again, the Orianna has always had first move. Shockwave lands just for poke.
Not just the first move, but the second and third as well. That is a feels bad moment, because you could see if I'm in your cheese was able to rotate up, maybe there could be a contest on top of this hero, but it's not going to happen. GW go ahead and take both global objectives off the map in 10 minutes. Very well done there. And now You Can Rest is also going to look forward. A flash. I saw the look. It was an eye-opener for sure. A solo kill for You Can Rest.
Yeah, Reaper, I don't think was expecting the flash forward either. You can see the split second right before he died, he started to move away, but it's too little too late. And yeah, that mid lane starting to become a problem. If mid lane starts winning as well, GW can start sending all the resources they want into this bot lane. Sneaky Beagle doesn't have to gank any other lane. I mean, he can if he wants to pick up kills, but realistically, he can spend the bulk of his time into the bot lane, the only lane that really needs help. And Orbital, for Behrend, I'm starting to think they need to go bot too, not to help that lane, but to get kills for Letters. This J4 has been starved of kills thus far.
Starved of activity, starved of pressure, starved of any sort of attention. A 0-0-0 scoreline feels bad. And I think that is the game plan for GW. Like you said, hopefully we get to see some action there. And for right now, they got the vision for it. You can take a look at deep ward inside of the river, following up with one deep inside of enemy territory. The problem is this constant rotate from You Can Rest now. That has been such a killer aspect. Every time a wave is shoved out, both the Orianna and Syndra start to float bot lane, and that just puts a lot of hesitation into a lot of different people's heads.
Letters has taken the long road, is looking to try and brute force the lane gank. Doesn't have flash available, but with Cataclysm, Flag and Drag Cataclysm can cover a lot of distance, and Sneaky Beagle isn't covering fast enough. Oh, okay, that's Amin your cheese who showed. They don't know that Letters isn't here.
They're gonna wait though, and remember, a lot of GWU are currently sitting on top of Vision. They're just now clearing it out and trying to chase Reaper away, and so Knight and Seohwa, understandably, they know that they've been pressured the entire time. That steal of the quickness could be the signal to go in. Remember, Seohwa has usually been the initiator, and that's gonna be the roundup. Can they find Jacqueline? Yes, they do, but it's going to be a counterattack. Cataclysm grabs 3, but it's not gonna be enough. In come the teleports as a sneaky kill by the Rek'Sai. We'll find 1. Up goes Letters, and down goes the Alphabet.
Ooh.
Problems are all around as Reaper will gather a few. A triple kill with the shockwave behind makes it a triple +1. I thought it was going to be a quadra. It was going to look so cool, but 4 for 1 goes the way of GWU.
Orbital, this was why I said coming in tonight. I was looking at the jungle mid synergy for GWU. How does it look like when this is Sneaky Beagle's first game in? Well, it's clean. Rest and Beagle in that fight managed to mop up as well, and great map awareness from them. The end of that fight, knowing that I'm in your cheese was coming, they just fired it over the wall, killed him in transition while they were still focused on Reaper. So GWU right now, if mid jungle's ahead, they're going to start spreading the pain, and Behrend needs an answer fast.
Problem is with those kills, you now secured an advantage on the bot side, and that will lend itself to the second dragon of this game. This cloud could easily be taken, and you're on your way to a soul point prior to about 25 minutes. It would be such a big win. And then at the 3rd and 4th, you bring in Cam Bam, who is winning so hard in this top side. 2 component items versus a completed Gore Drinker execution. You can't do anything here. I'm sorry. You are stuck on save the plates and try and farm as best you can.
To give credit to execution, though, I do think he's been doing a great job saving those plates. In fact, none have gone down. Kambam is up a lot of CS, which is good individually, but GWU is not necessarily benefiting from global gold of early first brick to come through. So we'll have to see what happens when Kambam's finally unleashed. Reaper doesn't know!
It's the hunter's hunting the prey. That's literally all it is, and we just watched it happen. Now it's going to be Knight, though, who does not have the Feather Storm, so this might be the opportunity. A good knock-up into a kill. This one will also be a walk in the park for them. Dragon was started up ever so slightly, but the kill on the ADC sends a very different message. Still a 3-on-3. A little bit of a roam down. Take a look at Cam Bam. If they wait long enough, they will have 4 around this Dragon. Sneaky Beagle, though, says, I am stronger. Good knock-up and into the back line. Letters will find 2, but it's still the damage factor. Look at that. The combo from GWU is just that much further ahead. You can rest now, getting a chunk out of that J4, forcing him away from the Dragon.
And you could see Behrend was like inching forward. This was the stronger side of the map for them. But Beagle and Rest are just so far ahead. And unfortunately, the target selection as well. They went on to Seohwa, which is possibly the easiest person to burst down. But he's not the critical damage dealer. You need to kill Rest now. It's that Orianna. Her passive, the clockwork, it does damage on auto attacks too. So her sustained damage is nothing to scoff at if you're just in her auto attack range and not actively running away.
It's just so good. And I also gotta say, Seohwa, not just in terms of the initiation, the fact that there are so many good ults to choose from has been immaculate, right? You watch those eyes, pretty much any ult on the bot side is an initiation tool, right? You take a look at that at the Killer Instinct, at the Quickness, at the Cataclysm. Literally, one of those will be on rotation to grab at any point in this bot lane, and it's so frustrating. I feel if you look at the side of Behrend right now, with this Herald coming up in just a few seconds, it'll be another question mark. You can Rest now owns this mid lane.
Yeah, we saw the gold toggle a little bit, so you could see the individual gold totals. What's interesting to me is what the differences there. GWU is winning in every lane except for AD carry, but look at the item break points, Orbital. Oh, okay. The one lane that Behrend is winning, Jackie Love does not have a significant item power spike. You've got to be of sword advantage, great, but Knight's not looking to interact. Whereas when you look at GWU, Cam Bam Slam, Sneaky Beagle, they're up a mythic on their opponents. Execution just picked up, actually no, that's, he just picked up the Funfire Wind Cape, so just equalize that. But before that, they were down significant items. They can't be looking to fight, and even here, jungle difference means that Letters still can't focus in to check.
It's such a painful thing for Behrend to basically have to watch the global objectives slowly topple before them without being to challenge at all. The Mountain Dragon coming up also means that this tankiness, this gold lead will yield results for GW even if PSB are able to find a fight. This tankiness, this innate ability to sustain through a lot of the damage will be something that they have to worry about. As we enter 17 minutes, 8 kills to 4, 26k to 28.3. 2.3k is still not unleashed to an extent because Bam and Execution are still stuck in this top lane. It's not ending up there.
Yeah, and at 2k, honestly, at 17 minutes is not game ending by any means. It's not even that significant, to be honest. It's more about who can hit their power spikes first. And I love the fact that you mentioned that part of that gold is locked into the top lane, which hasn't been able to necessarily push onto these turrets. Now, we did see Second Herald being picked up by GWU. I'd love for them to actually use it in the top lane to crack that one open, because I think Bam Slam brings a lot to the table with flanking maneuvers and potential turret dives as well as we enter the mid game.
At this point, Knight knows that the J4 is sitting on bot side. I think Knight's just like, I don't want to deal with this. Just leave me alone. I'm going to sit back. I'll eat the farm difference because I don't have to worry about it. Mid lane will now be broken open. Reaper can't do anything, by the way. 1 and 3 went to Leandries, which, again, is appropriate, but the mid lane tower will fall very, very quickly. You were looking at top side. Yeah. Now mid lane is open, and hey, you can float back to that top instead if you wish. Sneaky Beagle, though, says, I don't want top, I want kills. That's what I'm going to look at instead. Exhaust used just to keep him alive, but look at that follow through. The quickness burn as well to get under the tower. And GWU start to claim control of this bot side of the jungle.
Yeah, Mir Cheese had to kind of blow everything. And now Jackie Love's in trouble because Jackie Love's alone in that bot lane. Thankfully, no wave there to facilitate the dive. They're trying to cover, but anywhere, you know, even under turret. If Rest now can move as well in a 4v2, they easily dive that.
There's just... It's so scary all over right now. Behrend are like, hey, look, we're negating a couple kills, great. But that stranglehold is coming through. This, the pressure of death is getting them over and over again. And just this ult to try and clear the way for Execution to go ahead and try and recall is leaving problems on the other side of the map. Letters has to flash away. There is no follow through, but look at that snipe. It's so low. You aren't going to get the recall off, I think. Yeah, you have to run.
Yeah, and you have to leave the turret because the turret got recall orbital. So that would go down if GWU want to take it. Instead, it looks like they are setting up for Dragon. It's 40 seconds, so Drag comes up. Okay, they're waiting for the wave, and now that the wave is in, that should be second grip.
Not just that, you're also looking at this raw damage. Good scout of the week. But the Dragon was already granted over when we saw Execution teleport to the top side. It does mean that Behrend have already given up that bot side piece. So it will be sole point to GW as they look further on. Where do they want to go to?
Hey man, if you can hold Bam Slam up in the top lane as Execution right now, I think that's worth it in a 1v1.
True,
and Ornn does have enough CC that the TP can be a little bit complicated to get through if you're in lane. Bam Slam though, going back to base recalling, so there will be no way to stop it, and GW, like clockwork, on that Dragon as it spawns.
They don't even care that they're on a ward. Unless we get a random Q over the wall, which would be hilarious. Oh, that was actually pretty close. I saw 19 on there, and I saw the little chase, the Rakan almost tagging it. That would have been so... I would have 100% control delete. Just leave the game at that point. Listen, a support stealing is the worst feeling in the world. 100%. There is no world where you don't feel bad as a jungler if you lose out an objective to a support.
And hey, you know, GWU, their only loss came from a bit of tilt when things kind of went south with them in the game. So if that happens, maybe they tilt within game. But unlikely to happen, though. Letters was rotating up top with Your Cheese, and I do think they... Renekton is killable. No shot. Wait.
It looks like it was just a quick, simple thing. I think they're gonna be okay. Nope. All right. So we heard it once. We saw them still playing. It looks like they might have some connectivity issues. But GWU so far, it's been a somewhat quiet game. Only 12 kills so far. Not bad though. Again, this slow roll of these innate pocket pieces, all of these puzzle pieces getting together and starting to push forward for GW.
You have high standards, bro. 12 kills in 20 minutes is not that low. It's about average, I'd say.
It's low for me, okay? I want to see more death. I want to see more blood.
I think it speaks to both these teams that we're not seeing more blood. The teams aren't overextending and making too many mistakes. But I want to go back to what we're talking about with GWU and the fact that they brought Sneaky Beagle in, partially hoping that his shot calling, that he'd take firmer charge of the early game. And I'm glad to see it has paid off. Sneaky Beagle's been having a great early game, really good rotations. And it's not just the kills as well, because GW expects the kills. They've been winning out a lot of their games through just better laning by having better hands. But also their rotations onto these objectives have been spot on. Behrend has been strangled out, and even when Behrend had the lead early, because of the good pressure, the good communication between mid, jungle, and bot, they couldn't actually take that early dragon, and things have only gone downhill for them since then.
It's one of those that you realize things might be getting out of control. It's not out of control yet, don't get me wrong. It's not out of control, but there is the feeling behind it. And where did they stem that bleeding? I gotta ask you, for Behrend, where did they actually stem that bleeding of, hey, we can actually start fighting back? I mean, is there a possibility, or is that window down closed?
Individually, I don't think Behrend can actually stem the bleeding individually anymore. They have to start rotating faster and actually forcing ganks a little bit. And we're seeing them try. Your Cheese has been roaming around very aggressively on this Rakan, trying to link up with letters. But unfortunately, it just hasn't quite manifested in any of these lanes. Ideally, you'd kind of want to go for the immobile Orianna, but You Can Rest now has been just as mobile, actually just running around with the rest of the team, so that it's very difficult to, first of all, find where Rest is. And if you can see Rest, there's probably backup somewhere in that area as well. So for Behrend, they're trying to do the right thing, but the execution is where they're struggling. And Orbital, one thing we should note is that, the top half of their map are international students, English not necessarily their first language. And there is sometimes communication issues that can happen while they're trying to sync up. And I think that might be hurting them a little bit right now. Because I mentioned, Your Cheese is actively looking. Letters is actively looking. But somehow the pieces just aren't clicking and coming together quite right.
And that is something that they do have to get over. By the way, this would be a great litmus test as well. Hey, you go ahead, try and figure out some ways to get things together. I believe they are going ahead and still mixing it up in that playoff seeding, right? So, hey, maybe this is a great time to kind of test things out, see what you can get. However, at this point, though, I think we are going right back into game. Everyone is connected and everyone is happy. Well, on GWU's side, we now have a swap of the mid laners to the spot side. And I know you were talking about the fact that You Can Rest now is roaming around with backup. At 2-0-4 with the lead in the item components, I honestly think You Can Rest now doesn't really need a whole lot of backup if it ends up in a 1v2.
Well, first of all, I want to call out that Reaper was such a gentleman right there. Because of disconnect, Reaper actually didn't all in, and the moment they realized that this disconnect, actually stepped back, waited for Rest now to move before going in. So shout out to Reaper in a tough spot and still playing with great sportsmanship. Now, yeah, you see Rest there, you see the item advantage, but where else do you go, right? If you go against Renekton, well, we've seen Renektons pull off 1v2 when they're even. When they're ahead, it's going to get worse. But you can see how quickly Rest Now moved as well. Rest Now was just there, clear the wave, move off. And so the windows of opportunity are just so low, and that's why I'm saying Behrend, the idea is good, but the execution is rough. Oh, do we really need to do this, GW? Death push when you're ahead?
Well, yes,
Okay.
because they want to get those kills. They want to get Cam in the mix, and they do the flash to grab that J4. Is not going to land anything. Cataclysm on the backside takes the Steel Wall as the tower dive goes a bit awry. 2 for the Rex side as it's death for death in the top side tower. In the end, it is jungle for jungle and support for support. But advantage GW as they go back with relatively larger HP bars.
But what they were looking for, Orbital, was the pick into the Behrend. And unfortunately, because the one who died for them, or one of the two who died, was Sneaky Beagle, no smite available, can't actually push in for Behrend. And if you're Behrend, you're fine with that trade. You happily take that trade.
Yeah, I mean, you got this massive shutdown off of Sneaky Beagle. That is a large chunk of gold back. And I want to say it was over to Utger, the J4, saying, hey, I need a little bit of space back. Now you're 2, 2, and 3. Hey, maybe we can start making more magic happen.
Well, I guess we'll find out. Well, this is a piece of magic in and of itself, Orbital. The fact that the top outer turret is still standing.
Right. The dive happened, and they were like, we don't care that we aren't going to be able to do any damage to this side. It's okay. Let's just do it.
GW, though, resetting for the Baron right now. Dragon comes up in 2 minutes, so there's a good window for them. And, oh, Sohua.
I mean, that was a good take. Utger was able to find it. You can see that the scuttle goes down, and that's also another delayer of the Baron, or at least so we thought. They aren't going to do it in complete darkness. They're still going to start it up. It's a little bit questionable as multiple TPs come down. Everyone is going to meet up, but you drew the TP. You are happy about that one. GW pull off and clear vision as they go.
Okay, yeah, I was wondering if they wanted to turn for Behrend, because I think Behrend retreated in great order. They didn't lose anything. They were still fairly healthy. They could still walk in. And yep, that's exactly what they did. So GWU is stalling out a little bit here in the mid-game model. We were talking about the fact that Sneaky Beagle, the early game has looked really good for GWU. They had their signature good laning, and they had a lot of proactivity with sort of the rotations onto the objectives. But come the mid-game, they're starting to stall out a little bit, and somebody needs to step up and be that voice for them to say, hey, you know, we need to play the map a little bit better. Death pushes are all well and good, but you can kind of do like a 4-1 split push if you want. Have Cam Bam Slam try and match up into the likes of Reaper rather than Execution, and threaten dives while you play cross map somewhere else, because we have seen Reaper often be the one in that solo lane, in the bot lane, and markedly without teleport as well.
Oh, look at that. You can't cleanse out as Lutger tries to flash, but you can't flash away from that chase. So good. You were talking about proactive moves, and that's one. Find the enemy jungler, and now look for ever further. The Ornhorn is going to be grabbed, and Seohua has found yet another way to engage with the jungle going down at this time. Respawn on top of Dragon Timer. It feels like GWU just got sold for free.
Yeah, in the first place, I think GW would actually love for Behrend to actually try and fight them on open ground. So they actually want Behrend to try and contest them. They found the wraparound, though.
Oh, and that's where Khan left to their own devices. You try and flash away. I'm not sure if that was really necessary, but it is going to be a second kill. Well done to GWU. You said the facing is good, and it's working for them. Soul, Mountain will give them maybe the bit of tankiness to go for that dive.
Yeah, I love what they've managed to adapt. It's not just a death push right now. They're actively looking for the picks, making that action happen on their own terms. Behrend trying to answer across the map. Execution clearing out vision around Behrend, as well as pushing on that top lane turret. For Behrend, the game continues to get rougher, Orbital, but for GWU, the options have kind of shrunk a little bit. There's only one side of the map you really want to play to, and Cam Bam Sam used TP to get up top, so you're not worried as much about, or you lose the option, I suppose, for GWU to go with that 4-1, where you've got 4 at Behrend, 1 at bot lane.
With that situation, maybe you do just play for for the kind of setup, right? You're not looking for anything in particular, but keep getting farm in there. You can see the items breaking up even further. Sneaky Beagle as well as Cam both sitting on those Merc Treads in 2.5. Inside of Sneaky Beagle, the Renekton has yet to still come online. We see 3 assists in their pocket, but I feel like Cam is still kind of sitting there like hunting for an opportunity, right? You can see the anxiety or a little bit of the anxiousness saying, let's go ahead and look for something. Let's group up, please, please, please. They go ahead and roam as a 5-man death squad into this enemy side jungle, and maybe they just straight up rush it. That is going to be a 3-man stun, though, allowing Unknown to get out of that sticky situation.
Okay, I'll grant you. Hold up. Letters?
Well, yeah, you were going to talk, but instead it's going to be that fight. Great knockup and into that possible damage source. Look at the HP shred coming out. GW just melt through the support. BD of a job to force that fight and get a dub on the board. With that kill, I think Behrend is very much on the table.
Yeah, I mean, you finally got that advantage. Letters is almost dead as well, so you've got a time. Oh
no!
Jackie Love is dead! Okay, that... How many times have we seen the ball play from You Can Rest now? And it's just so good. Behrend is not respecting. I mean, they kind of lost track, I guess, of the ball for a second, and Jackie Love gets one shot. I was going to say it's dicey whether Letters can get back in any sort of meaningful health to actually contest in time. But the moment Jackie Love goes down, you know that fight's over. You know GW have it. And the one thing GW have been struggling so far this game has been pushing. With Behrend buff now, they can easily do it. Cam Bam Stam Bam can finally go Bam Bam on turrets.
Honestly, if they don't get the rest of the outers, I'm going to be very sad, right? Like, I know 4 is a tough ask, but they have a significant lead. They have such strength. If they don't, I will be a little bit upset. I want to see him start closing out this game. I want to see him go ahead and look for that dub on the board. And it looks like they are doing it. I mean, Yashiz has to run away. That tower actually falls on the top side. But hey, you know what? I'll take all the outers or an inhibitor, one or the other right now. 4, bearing down in this mid lane. Could be 5 if you bring the TP, but look at that bruising. Execution trying to go for a little bit of a stopper, said, hey, let's upgrade some items. That's going to be a little bit cheeky as well. I mean, you're doing that right in front of your opponent. That is asking for a little bit of bait.
Yeah, and they are trying to see if GWU is willing to step under that turret. Maybe they can look to punish, but very disciplined play from GWU. They're holding them off. All 5 members of Behrend are committed to this, and you can rest now. It's putting a timer as they're taking that bot inner turret.
Engage a knockup into Cataclysm. Great stun comes out. Seohwa gets the Zonians off in time. Because of that, you are safe. Rest of the team teleporting in. You get 1, but it's only the support. And now the death comes in. CKB will grab 2 with the shockwave delivery. And they're going to try and dive under tower. No, Bam says no. I don't want to deal with that one. Fully HP'd up are the last 3 members. And GW, for all they fought, got a 1 for 2. Only half damage on that mid lane inhibitor tower.
Now, can they push in for more sneaky view over the wall? Dracula!
Oh, great knockup again. This Rek'Sai unique, the specialization, bringing favor. There they go. Broken inhibitor tower, broken inhibitor as well.
That's the call they needed overall. That was the big question for me. Is you can win the fight. It doesn't matter. You're trying to take the objectives, especially when you've got Behrend buff. And GW was able to wait around and do it again. Behrend thought they won the fight, but the fight wasn't really over. The push continues. Where is Reaper clearing minions mid so that bot inhibitor turret will go down? They barely salvaged the inhibitor.
I said it right. I said I want to see the outer field down or an inhibitor. Dang, that was a call of calls as Seohwa unfortunately has to use the Owen Horn out in the open. Still had that, by the way. I do want to say the fact that Seohwa lived that long was pretty crazy in its own right. That is why you always want the Mountain Soul. Extra shielding, a little extra armor, and magic resist. That's not actually true. Taking a look, the only lane that is still holding some sort of advantage in terms of spacing is that top side. 2 outer towers still alive.
And I'm going to be honest, I don't think those top lane turrets matter whatsoever anymore. I think GWU, they're strong enough that they can brute force their way in. That's kind of what we saw a little bit in the mid lane. And with those turrets down, Behrend can't defend those inhibitors anymore. That's open ground. That's where GWU thrives. And I think a lot of that is coming from the fact that Slam Bam has finally been unlocked. They made the call, hey, you don't have to be stuck top anymore. We won't take the turrets, but you don't need to be there. Sure, he's not slamming people and killing them, but his presence is that tank they need right now to step up and threaten Behrend.
And the threat is working. This Elder Dragon will be the telling sign, because even if the threat's available, you can't let it go away. Reaper, you go into that stasis, but it does not matter. You can rest now, says yeah, and I'll put that on your grave as well. That is now the 4th kill on Reaper. And, you know, the 2nd solo death right there. You can rest now, though, without ult. It's going to try and back them up. Remember, that ball is going to hurt. The TP signaling a back off from this fight. And because of that, it is going to be Elder in 10 seconds. That's going to be a little bit of a jump up, though. Bam says, I want to fight, and gets into the mix here. Cataclysm only delays the inevitable as Iman Yashis has to run away. A catch down in the laning phase means Jackie will fall as well. Double kill once again for Sneaky Beagle. A triple as they chase into base. Elder doesn't matter, as the Nexus is their goal for running forward. The Nexus towers are Swiss cheese right now. Execution can't even get back to base as the ball melts your face. GG for game 1 to George Washington University.
And GWU can give themselves a pat on the back. It's pretty much exactly according to script, Orbital. They win the lanes, they pressure, they take advantage. There's a small hiccup in the mid game, but overall they did incredibly well. And for Behrend, it's back to the drawing board for them, because they need to figure out what happened and how they can fix it. The laning phase had issues, unfortunately, and it just felt like they were being dominated. And I'm looking at letters now. Where do you go? We kept talking about bot lane because it felt like the winning lane, but Reaper and Execution fell so far behind. I don't know if you can play to those winning lanes anymore.
I have to say it felt like it was only winning in their eyes, right? In their own individual side, the strongest lane on that bot side, because everywhere else it felt like GW were just like, yeah, we're cool. We're having fun. Let's go ahead. That one death, it's whatever. So a little bit of a scary thought. Question marks are abound now. Remember what I said at the beginning? These were a lot, or you said it as well. These are a lot of specialty picks. Now, for the side of Behrend, you have to figure out, was the Rek'Sai worth a ban? Probably now it is. We'll see if they do so in game number 2. Please don't go anywhere. ESU will be back with more ECAC action in just a bit. There is a reason GWU are currently sitting on top, and we saw it there in Game 1. Well played overall from the team, but the solo lane standing out. And, I mean, we were talking about Sneaky Beagle sneaking in here as a substitution. Didn't feel like it at all.
Yeah, if anything, he was sneaking into the back line of Behrend there on that Rek'Sai. I mean, a couple of times you saw flashes go off after the Rek'Sai ult had already ulted, and yeah, it's too late, as you pointed out. He's already in there, already ripping them apart. But overall, Game 2. And for GWU, they don't have to change a thing because everything works well for them. Behrend, though, they've got some big questions. And you asked one, which I'm very curious about. Do you ban the Rek'Sai? Because on one hand, Sneaky Beagle was an absolute beast on it in the mid to late game. But the early game, honestly, wasn't that bad. So do they feel like, hey, we had an okay angle on it, it's the solo lanes, or are they going to ban that and change things up?
And I think that falls a lot on that one pick that we had some worries about, and it kind of came to light. But, I mean, Jackie Love, we saw a very large hint of glory come out in that bot side, was up quite a bit of CES, had that lead. But, again, that Kai'Sa just felt a little bit out of place.
Yeah, and I believe we've been told that Behrend has actually opted for blue side still. So they're maintaining the same side. They went for that Kai'Sa after seeing the Xayah, and obviously it's a bit of a comfort pick for Jackie Love. They feel very strong about it. I want to know if they actually decide to change that up, maybe actually counter pick with that in the AD carry role, or do they pick, a more generic champion? Because Jinx was on the table, and Jinx is still very strong if you've got a good front line.
And that's kind of the power of the meta. But for right now, we will see a specialties win out or the meta instead. So far, it is Deja Vu. Behrend still don't want to deal with that Poppy, and I think that's appropriate. Even Cambia feeling great on the Renekton, had a massive CS lead in that top side. You really don't want to see what happens when the Poppy, the most played champion of this player, is there instead. Still the Aatrox banned away. Great respect handed to execution.
Yeah, actually, with the Poppy as well, I'm just thinking, I don't know if it's necessarily worth the ban if you want to play something defensive. I think that's more if you want to go diving in like a Kai'Sa. So Behrend banning that to me kind of signals as well that they still want something a little bit aggressive, or they have players that want to go. And the Rek'Sai ban, of course, against Sneaky Beagle called, and Cassante still being banned. That was Game 1 ban as well. I believe it was Senna was the other ban that came out from GWU.
And leaving that one open means that Behrend do have their pick of the litter. What do you think? Jungle, ADC? What should they really focus on here? Because I think GW might just stick with the same bans. What do they want to grab first? The first one was J4 last time. Do you want to go for that?
I think the J4 was fine if you want to first pick that. If anything, oh, well, that's off the table. I was going to say, if anything, you wanted to pick the Orianna to support that J4 earlier, because that fell all the way to the second ban phase. I think if anything now, if you're blue, you're first picking, you could go for the Xayah. Maybe try and take that away. Okay. Ooh. You know what? It's fine. Orianna, first pickable, worth. And given what rest You Can Rest Now did in Game 1, that is 100% a champion you do not want to give over for free.
I think that's good. A surprise factor, though. Remember, in game number 1, this was left all the way to R5. GWU now saying, I feel more comfortable. We can send the Renekton early. This is a calling card. Following up behind now is that Ashe. I like it. Get in range. Be able to catch whoever Behrend tries to run away with.
Okay, now I'm curious if that is an Ashe support or Ashe
right.
AD carry. Because remember, we said before, Sohwa really admires Keria. Likes weird things like that. Keria is a specialist at marksman supports, specifically the Ashe that he sort of made very popular. So we'll have to see if that's support or AD carry for now. Behrend, on the other hand, is just going with the Ornn. Once again, why not? You saw the Renekton. Well, actually, I shouldn't ask why not, because we know why not. That was a massive CS deficit. And the Xayah to follow up as well. That was what I was expecting first pick. Jackie Love plays a ton of Xayah. It's his most played champion as well. And that does open up an opportunity for Jinx if GWU want it. Oh, Braum. Okay.
Okay, I like this. Of course, the Braum used in a little bit more, the enemy team has the go-ahead button, so I like it, but it is a good answer to Ornn. Very great denial of the ult. Now you look towards that bot side once again. The Xayah, you cannot give the recon. That is a given. Behrend, though, do you want to focus on that top side? Or not the top side, the mid lane. Not even mid lane, I lied. Support or jungle, those are the last few that we need. The Akali, though, focus once again. So, let's go ahead and keep picking away at these select lanes.
Yeah, the Akali actually a new ban coming through, and you can tell that Behrend, I think, is trying to narrow down a lot of what You Can Rest Now wants to do, because that Orianna, that mid-jungle duel was what really kind of blew the game apart. Now, with the Rek'Sai off the table, Beagle still has other jungle options he can go with if he wants, if he still wants something kind of strong. Graves is potentially on the table, and yeah, they banned the Silas instead, which it's interesting. You Can Rest Now does play it, but you know it's not support this time for sure.
Ooh, and the
That's a change of
Ivern
pace.
to be hovered and come out. I like this is in Sneaky Beagles, but as you said, it's a change of pace. It will push a lot of the agency to other players on the team. Ivern's
Yeah.
still given a lot of power behind, but it's not that go-getter. It's not that all-in. And the answer behind the Vi, this is, again, a way to go in. Now you don't have anyone stopping you, though. Except death. Except death.
Well, death isn't a person, it's a concept, right? Or something like that. Karthus isn't on the map, so no undead here. The Karma that actually got banned by Behrend, they're actually going to pick this one up themselves. So I kind of like the comp. They've got a go fast button. They've got good team fighting to engage, and the bot lane as well. They're going to have the ability to answer the Ash poke, which is actually really important because Zaya doesn't have the ability to kind of match that wave push.
Oh,
Okay,
I saw this as well. Come on, Rest. You can do it. Lock it in. I want to see it.
Okay.
Yeah, let's go.
That's an interesting one. I mean, we mentioned before, You Can Rest, of course, likes those melee champions, you know, things like Aurelia, Yasuo, Yone, Silas. So Yone is well within his wheelhouse. But this GWU composition to me, Orbital, this is confidence, right? We're saying that we know we can win all the lanes. So we're picking Renekton blind. We're going to win that lane. We're picking Yone, who can skill up, who can 1v5 later team fights that you don't have an answer to. Sure, you can dodge it for Zaya with the Featherstorm, but there's a lot of follow-up. Yone can always snap back as well if he wants to try and avoid getting rooted down. I think what shocks me the most, though, is still that Ivern pick for Sneaky Beagle. It's a complete 180 from what we saw in Game 1 and from what I've seen of a lot of his OPGGs. This guy is a massive carry. Now, on the Ivern, you're enabling the rest of your team. Heck, even the bot lane, Knight as well, you know, going for this Ashe, that's more of a utility pick. They are playing a lot for the solo lanes.
And I think that's appropriate. Now that we get to see that final piece of the puzzle laid in, it is giving us that grand scale, right? That Yone really brings it all together.
Yeah.
And on the flip, we're looking at Behrend saying, okay, you have a bit better, and eyes drawn to that bot side. I love this Zaya Recon. As you were saying, a little bit of speed up, a little ability, but Ucker also has the ability to go in a little bit better this time. I love the punch force that comes out. I will always like Vi over J4, mostly because I like to press R and just be able to go in. I love the assault and battery, so maybe we get to see a little shake-up in there as well. Maybe a little bit more agency on the Karma to poke out the likes as much as you wish against the Freljord.
Yeah, and you mentioned the fact that, you know, non-Zaya Rakan bot, Zaya the Karma. I really like that Your Cheese has actually picked up the Karma here, because Karma is a support who can really dominate and take control of that bot lane. And we said before that in Game 1, a lot of Behrend's struggles started in the early game. Well, now the bot lane, JackeyLove and Your Cheese, the one winning lane, they've given Your Cheese even more power so they can try and win out there, buy time for the Zaya to skill up. And we've seen Karmas often roam between lanes as well, get pressure down. And I'm looking at Your Cheese to back up letters this time. The two of them moving around a lot to try and keep the lanes in a good state, because Behrend's not playing for the early game. They're playing more for the mid game, for the team fights with the Ornn, with the Vi, with the Orianna. It's all about those shockwaves. Oh, wait, Your Cheese is in the mid lane?
Ooh, we did not get this information. We have a swap up here. Laners, start your engine as Your Cheese is in the mid lane now. But this is also a very big question because of a difference here. I'm kind of curious, because one of the big things that we were going to talk about is the fact that mid lane went so heavily in favor of Rest. Now you're swapping out the players, and the Orianna can get kind of abused here in terms of damage output in the early stages by a Yone if you're not careful. So a lot of question marks here. Let's see if this change-up does help. For right now, JackeyLove able to dodge out on a little bit of that damage, but the slow from that volley will be just enough to give a scare.
It's fine. You don't lose anything. It's all good. There's no Spell Thief's Edge, so no gold given over, and JackeyLove just walks it off, doesn't blow any summoners. You're good to go. Overall, Yone versus Orianna. Let's talk about that matchup a little bit, because yes, if Orianna misplays, she can die to Yone, but the early game, like the first couple of levels, it's still a range versus melee matchup. And one thing that Orianna has always been very good at is zone control. So Yone kind of needs to be careful in those early levels. If you get chunked in those first 3 levels, then Yone can't really poke into the Orianna, and you have to be careful of junglers as well. Vi, very lethal. The Vault Breaker combined with Flash is almost a guaranteed knockup. You have a very small window to flash away, and you're very unlikely to be able to dodge that animation if the Vi knows what she's doing.
I like the stacking as well. You were talking about that range difference. Well, hey, you can rest now. Got the first hit. You know what? Lane over. It's okay. It's okay. I would also like to say your soapbox did nothing from game number 1. Jackie Love goes ahead and grabs Clem. Now, yes, there aren't as many knockouts as before, but I still love the fact that we get to see it here in game 2 on the other side.
True. And you know what? It's also useful specifically against the Ashe lane because you're trying to just dodge that first arrow. If you dodge that, the rest of the knockups can't come through. So, you know what? I'm okay with Cleanse this game. There are enough stuns. There are enough routes to make it worthwhile.
Well, for right now, though, that is going to be the big difference as we do get to see that level 2 gank. This is what we were asking for. You know, Letters getting a little bit of a difference, and I love it. We saw that chance. I was waiting to see it happen, and they are going to walk forward. Knight seems to be tunnel vision a little bit. Gets rooted, and now has to flash away. Exhaust was used as well. Ghost's not going to do too much. This might be first blood. One more! But they can't finish. Chug those potions like your life depends on it. Knight survives.
Reaper, you had flash. Go for it. I cannot believe it. That is massive for GWU. Now, it is worth noting, of course, Knight does get pushed back and will miss this wave. And early on, the experience is king. So it still hurts GWU a lot. Mid lane, you can rest now, has no chill. And I love it. But look how much damage he's taken for the aggression.
I'm not sure you're sure about that. That is an extra shield. You're going to try and flash forward. One more
Yeah.
take it. But you
One more, who can auto?
It's going to be there.
Oh!
You throw the ball and you get it. I'm in your cheese. Already a dub up in the mid lane from support to mid. You make an impact.
He's in your cheese and his ball is in your face. You can rest now. I like what he did. Oh, just barely dodging out on that well played from in your cheese. And I want to highlight that too for you can rest now. That was not a bad call. What he decided to do. He got the chunk, and Yone's all-in is stronger. It was a game of inches. Whoever gets the auto off first wins. And unfortunately, if you can rest now, couldn't get that auto off, range advantage. It's that range versus melee we were talking about. Range wins.
And I gotta point out the fact that now, after all those fights, Letters is still looking inside of this river side. But in game number 1, the pressure was there, right? After a while, we saw the J4. It was like, okay. After a while, it's like, how much can you actually get the spot lane? Now, with that close to finisher, every time I see Letters on the spot side, I'm actually like, is it gonna happen? Are we gonna see another chance happen?
Probably looking, but it is worth noting, of course, that all those ganks do come at a price, right? Letters is falling behind in farm, and Sneaky Beagle is just power farming his way, trying to unlock Daisy, the other half of Ivern, to really have great effect. And Sneaky Beagle is still ganking as well. It's just that he throws a Q, and if it doesn't work, he walks away.
It's topside, so kind of going the way that we expected. You know, Bam having a good time. However, the CS spell's a very different story. Now, I think last time we saw it about 10 minutes is where we saw that expensive CS lead. This time, still net even. Also able to grab the Thornmail early on, or the Bramble Vet, I do apologize. Looking here, the bushes are going to give a little bit empowering blow as Sneaky Beagle just says, let's get this plate. Let's get a little extra chunk of this.
Yep, it's just a kind of poke thing. That's why Ivern's kind of annoying. The kill threat isn't necessarily the highest, but the ability to just, you know, allow for extra pressure is very, very frustrating. Dragon is up. I don't know, though, if GW can actually take it with the Ivern Ashe combo. I feel like they need a bit more damage to comfortably take this one. Letters into the mid lane, but you can rest now. Can always fall back to the rest of the team.
I mean, they're doing it. You wondered if they can, but they are going over. However, Seal
they?
jumps in, and I think that was actually the problem. They were trying to sneak it away, but good stop by the side of PSB. So for all that time, you were talking about time spent. Good gank in the mid lane by Letters, and now you drag GWU off the Dragon.
That's why I was concerned. The fact that you can see the Dragon's still very, very healthy after all of that. And Reaper on this Karma as well. We talked about a support that can take over a lane. Well, the damage she's putting down with the poke does make trying to sneak an objective under her nose a dicey proposition at best. Jackie, Love, and Reaper now going to be able to push up that lane. I'm curious actually if Behrend decide to try and take the Dragon themselves.
Oh!
What?
You ever seen a croc stalk its prey? That's what happens. Snap and you're dead.
I honestly did not expect. I'm shocked because we think about game 1, right? Yeah, they were kind of low on health, but we didn't see that many kills, and yeah, execution didn't look that low on health, but huge from Cam Bam Slam soloing that one away as well. And hey, you can keep that up. especially with the gold advantage you get from that. Herald should handily go to GWU.
I'm watching Knight try and farm these. I think that was like 4 in a row miss, and I feel so bad right there. I was just, it feels bad, but that just shows the power of what PSB are putting down. It's such a change-up, right, from earlier stages. Yes, the CS is the same, but it feels good for PSB, and that's going to allow the jungles to have a little bit of a more impact. I'm curious how the bottom lane state kind of flows around as we see Eagle look towards that bot lane once again.
Topside though, they're trading heavily. No dominance for Cam Bam Slam, so I don't think it would be a kill in favor of GWU if anything happens up top. Sneaky heading down here, anything but, as he's brute forcing his way in.
Oh, the root lands?
lands?
On Reapers, and the exhaust actually goes on Jackie Love, so for what's gone down, it feels okay. Knight with full lethal, though, doesn't realize they're lethal. It is going to be a trade of ADCs, but man, was that close. Kill over to Knight, only an assist to Jackie Love.
Reaper picking up the kill isn't the end of the road. I personally think Karmas deserve kills. Like, they can do so much work in lane. But yeah, that was really tight. And you can see both AD carries knew exactly what they were doing. Ult the Forge Guard comes across, clears the wave, which is what the only thing really execution is looking for there.
And taking a look with that little dance, we are seeing, as we said, Sneaky Beagle look a little bit more enjoyable. That's going to be the call. Shockwave misses save with that breath, and both mid laners again on low HP. This is the second time they've done this.
Yeah, both of them are more than happy to go for these trades. And remember, Amenir Cheese is a support player, right? He's switched to mid specifically for this game. I'm really impressed with how he's been laning so far. He is dead even, and heck, he got that early kill as well.
It's worked in their favor. However, the other side of things, right? We saw You Can Rest Now on that Orianna before. The problem is that You Can Rest Now had singular power. This time around, I'm In Your Cheese has none of that. As in goes the Croc to steal away a second. No, actually, Sneaky Beagle, I think, got it with Daisy, which is great. But that's the other side, right? Great little pickup there, all from the setup from You Can Rest Now.
And You Can Rest Now. Unfortunately, he did all the work to get on your cheese, though. Didn't even get an assist off of that. Well, maybe they can get Herald, and maybe they can get more plates. I mean, plate's nice, but that was split at least 2 ways. I don't think Cam Bam got anything on to that one. And yeah, Orbital, sure, you know, it's really good individual play, but GWU rotating together as a team is, I think, what's making the difference now. And that's one thing we didn't see from Behrend either in Game 1, is we're not seeing the sort of collapses from the team. We're seeing Letters do a lot of work himself. We've seen I'm In Your Cheese last game try and roam by themselves, but still, I need to see that connection for this team come through.
Got the synergy come about, and maybe it's around these objectives. The Herald will be taken away by Letters. Dragon is still up, by the way. First Dragon in this game specifically. Last time it was taken by 7.5 minutes, I think, and we saw the stack by GWU at about 25. So kind of interesting in that factor, but Letters is hoping to get a global for themselves.
And to me, this is huge that Letters actually picks up the Herald here, because GWU had the pressure. They're winning topside, they got the kill mid, but when it mattered, Execution is able to push Cam Bam Slam back and create that space. Letters is able to sneak that one away. So great pickup by Behrend. And because the Dragon's so late, as you mentioned, Orbital, I'm curious if they actually use the Herald to leverage that Dragon. Get a push in one of those lanes and collapse him to pick it up. Because Ocean, as a first Drake, that's a nice Drake. That's my favorite Drake to have early.
And maybe that Herald gets dropped in the mid lane. I mean, this feels like it's going to be a kill. You Can Rest Now, juggling those dashes very, very well. But the top side is actually the other danger. Execution living with just a sliver. And now the mid lane we go back to. I'm In Your Cheese takes the dub. You were just saying, hey, what opportunities can Letters drop that Herald? You've actually kind of got one in the mid lane.
Yeah. Now, unfortunately, Letters isn't anywhere nearby. I'm not going to say you can drop it mid, get a bunch of plates. You can get it bot and then collapse easy. Reaper 1v2 there as Jackie Love was focused on the farm, is actually able to push Knight and Sohua back.
And that feels great, right? All of a sudden, this Herald that was picked up here, PSB feel like they have options. You can see the float down there around the Herald, around the Dragon. But it has to go back to the fact that, yes, PSB have a lead. We said it last time, though. GWU, it wasn't exactly crazy. Yes, there was action, but we need to see you be proactive, right? We need to see that proactivity kind of chase through for PSB and extend that lead, because right now they're still behind a slight bit in gold.
We've seen this song and dance before. GWU not trying to do the Dragon this time. They were just trying to clear, as I say that, they're actually committing to the Dragon. I think PSB got baited a little
Making
bit.
you
They thought-
wrong multiple times here, I think.
Yeah, I think PSB felt the same as I did, right? They pushed back GW and they were like, oh, we pushed them off, guys. We are done, right? No, GW just started it up later.
It is going to be finished off. Second time's the charm, and a mountain dragon to come out here. So it feels like we might get a little bit aggressive with these dragons, which will be very, very fun. Going back to that mid lane, though, I'm in your cheese. Even with 2 kills up, looking for that Ludens very, very quickly. You can rest now, trying to build up in their own way. As you said, early levels, the Orianna takes the dove, whether it's by an inch or a mile.
In before you cast a curse, this overall, and we get
I think I just did. I'm very scared.
And we don't get the aggression because of that. Letters coming down here. Was on a ward, but has ult.
Is going to be the assault battery coming in here. That's going to be a Fisher to go right back, though. Very nice disengage, and this is why you got the bomb, giving enough time for the rest of the team to follow up.
You
Here's
can rest
Sneaky
now?
Beetle. Get that spade up, and that's going to be a sacrifice by Letter. You can see it there, everyone trying to scatter to the winds, and it'll only be one for what could have been a very bad amount of deaths. PSB, they try to force that gank, don't have it work.
Wow.
Center deny back. What? Actually a finish off, and now I'm in your cheese in a bad spot. You do have flash to get away if you can. Shockwave is going to draw, and you can rest out into a bit of damage. But the flash to follow means this Yone is
Sticking on them.
Now knock him behind, and look at the cleanup. You can rest now, put names on tombstones. 2 gathered up in the extended fight. Jackie Love running for their life.
And Sneaky Bagel keeps chasing with Daisy to tank. Okay. Those Qs, overall, those Qs, they've been so close. And if any one of those had landed throughout this game, I think we see more kills. But let's talk about you can rest now, because if you're PSB, you can't rest now. This Yone is starting to come online, and we already saw that he's winning these trades against them in your cheese. That range advantage is starting to slip, and now picking up those kills in the bot lane, that accelerates matters. If you can do that when you're even, once this Yone starts to get ahead, Jackie Love, Reaper, I'm in your cheese, these guys are going to have a lot of problems approaching fights.
I mean, that also just puts rest online with Sneaky Beagle and Cam Bam, all of them sitting at about 4.6, 4.7. It hurts to see, and this is where they actually get it back. As we said, that Herald being in the pockets of Letters is now going to be dropped in mid, try and give a little bit more leverage to IMNUGs, who, again, you said have been doing very well. That's great to see. 2 more plates taken off. Can't get that third, unfortunately. And you can rest gets an extra 25. Trying to push that strong link, I think, would be a right call here.
Yeah, and generally, also, you kind of default to mid as where you drop Herald when there's nowhere else that's going to get you advantages. Reaper and Jackie Love, for all the good pace we've been seeing bot, have actually been shoved in, which I actually think is not a bad call. They're waiting for the Xayah to scale up. So they don't have much damage. There's no threat of first brick in the bot lane. Top lane, well, Execution has been doing a good job pushing out when needed. But again, very little damage on that top lane turret. So Behrend, it feels like they're being funneled into the mid lane out of necessity, not necessarily by choice.
That's going to be the chance, though, because the flash comes out here. I'm in your cheese getting dunked on. They did this last time, and honestly, I'm not sure if Letters actually wants to be here. This is a spot that is in danger. These 2 champions are so good at dueling, and an arrow offside to help out as well into the multi-stun. I'm pretty sure there was cement on their shoes as the blacksmith goes down in flames.
Okay, I knew you can rest now was going to get dangerous after those 2 kills. He just picked up another 3. And you're just pushing in. Reaper cannot hold this push if GW want to hard commit to this. Thankfully, it's early in the game. Death time is a short. And I'm in your cheese should be back shortly.
Death timers are short, but the gaps in the gold are getting larger and larger. You can rest now sitting at 5 behind. Already has that Kraken Slayer. I mean, with this hero coming up next and a dragon in just a minute, I'm actually terrified. GW, remember, I'm in your cheese had a little bit of a lead, was looking like a strong opponent to kind of even things out. At that point, it's gone, right? 26.5. GW can pretty much start storming the Rift like they did in game number 1.
Yeah, and for GW, it's not all... they still have to be careful. A lot of that gold is on You Can Rest now. If you can kill the Yone, there is a chance for Behrend, and they do have a lot of burst. Letters gets caught out.
Second time, Letters just came alive and didn't have any Summoner Souls behind. TP just for the secure. I mean, you can rest now, having a grand old time, just coming in and saying, hey, I'm here, I'm scary.
Well, you know, with all those rotations, though, Jackie Love and Reaper are going to be able to do this one. That's Cam Bam. I think you can actually fight this.
Yeah, I love it. Forcing out that Featherstorm, but now they call down the exhaust, slowing down Cam Bam because of that teleport from behind. I'm in your cheese matches. But look at that, Knight coming around the side, gets the ghost, gets the slow. Cam Bam
Is it
says,
enough?
hey, I got someone behind me.
Knight!
Shockwave lays on 2 though. Great grab from I'm in your cheese and gets the kill to Jackie Love. We were wondering how far that was going to come out, but PSV giving themselves 2 kills as well as control over the Dragon.
Yeah, Mountain Drake spawning right there. Junglers in place as well. Letters is coming down, so perfect for them. You can rest now, trying to get what they can topside, and that is actually a surprising amount of jump. I don't think Execution can hold this turret for more than 2 waves.
I think that's all you really need to. I mean, your team just caught a fairly nice, a bit of an advantage on the bot lane. And as we said, Execution's job is mostly just to slow down this top side. In game number 1, I think the top side towers were all still very far up. Execution doing their job. Ooh. Oh, the denial. I think Execution still got the item off, but that was an attempt at getting that denial on the Ornn passive. Still though, you can rest happily dancing on this top side as bot side tower will go down in favor of PSV.
Yeah, falling back from that dragon. Now, that's the opportunity that Behrend needed a little bit to get a bit of breathing room. And for GW, that's what I was highlighting, right? If you can rest now has all the gold, Behrend's not too worried or not afraid to fight back elsewhere. We saw that in the jungle fight, right? It was Cam Bam Slam, Sneaky Beagle, and Soulhwa catching out Letters. And they were actually thinking about collapsing in. I'm in your cheese was coming, Execution was as well. What made them back out was you can rest now, teleport. And because that was down, when Cam Bam Sam shows up down bot alone, they're more than happy to turn. So if Behrend can keep playing away from the Yone, there are still opportunities for them to get back in this game.
I think that starts with taking control back over the jungle. This is now the second time GW have invaded just to be an annoyance. That Ivern, again, that passive ability to just sneak in, grab a camp in less than like half the time that it normally takes, feels great to allow a rotation towards this top side. And unlike last game, clear out all the outers. 2 towers to 1. Still on the bot side, it's holding 1 more tower up, but still, GWU pulling together as that macro squad, and PSV now having to answer this Herald.
The call is for everybody to stay and try and push this one. Behrend just need to kind of wave clear this, and they're good to go. I'd love to see them actually push out the other lanes, but they're playing this really conservatively. And Extinction, was that Execution? Was that really where you wanted to go?
I don't think so, because now you almost baited in your teammates. Letters being knocked around and has to go back in. Flash can wait to try and get back under, but that's just going to call the Yone. Great catch on the back end. Execution now in a dangerous spot. You got the flash to try and get away, but all the knockups deny. You tried to flash over the wall, but even the wall brings your death. Tower falls on the top side. Daisy is up. Exhaust goes down as Reaper, maybe the next in the line. The Brittle Prox brings a triple as you can rest now. Allows GWU to push the inhibitor tower.
It's a hard push, and Jackie Love and I'm in your cheese, the last 2 standing. The carries, they've got damage, but they've got no front line. Any catch and they're dead.
Oh, now it's going to be a good shockwave, but it still doesn't stop the onslaught.
Yeah,
that is just a chase of ages. We had to zoom out to see how far that was going to go. Another command dissonance brings about a run, but the inhibitor still falls at 20 minutes, exactly on that. The perfect time to break open this game. Knight getting slowed up, though. This might be the compensation package. This might be the small prize at the end. A flash by Letters to try and get in range, and I'm not sure if you can. Cam Bam is so dang tanky. The Gorgeous and because the Hextech gates are up, everyone on GWU gets out safely.
I think GWU was just jabbing. They were testing the waters a little bit with that Herald. They didn't mean to break into the base pre-20 minutes, but one slight overextension from Behrend. Letters accidentally goes a little bit too far, and GW were like, okay, we snap, we go Cam Bam on these guys, we go full Gator, and they just bit the whole arm off. And now Behrend's in a really rough spot. With supers pushing that top lane, there's added pressure. GW can kind of just sit and do the Behrend dance. They can also look for pressure on the bot side. TP is up for both You Can Rest now and Cam Bam Slam, and I'm afraid Behrend can't kill them fast enough before the TP, the full channels complete.
I also want to say, I love the fact that you pointed out the 4-1 dance could happen, because You Can Rest now actually just went back and picked up a Hull Breaker. I think they had the exact same idea as you, just let's go ahead, let's do the 4-1. You Can Rest now has the most kills in the game, more kills than the enemy combined. Why don't we play towards this fact? I'm in your cheese really can't be here on the own. Take a look at that, and the healing factor that'll come out. Yone's innate healing can be so disgusting, and I think PSV know that as they try and dive into this jungle fight. And I'm not sure if you actually enjoyed this Letter getting caught out and soloed out, because Soulhwa and Cam Bam call out the cavalry. They say, we are the distraction. In goes the Yone, teleporting in the fight. I'm in your Chiefs got there first, but leads first as well. Because of that, PSP can't contend, and they have to run for the hills. Behrend is aggro, but it doesn't freaking matter. Feathers do quite a bit of damage, but no kill secured. Cam Bam will actually die to the back end as the crocodile is made into a purse, but I'm in your cheese is about to be turned into gears. As it's a quadra kill. Is that the pent? I don't think so. It's an ace for GWU.
And the snowball went faster, bro. We went from breaking the base to getting an ace into Behrend, and that's all GWU need to complete the circuit. Dragon comes up. I'm gonna be honest, I kind of don't even want to see them look at Dragon. Just go base and brute force the win right now, because Behrend, they're not in a position to contest you. The Waltz have gotten too big, and the Walt Warriors can end the game.
And for Behrend, we saw that it was a force out of letters trying to chase in on Knight, dove all the way from their own blue buff into the jungle, and if that doesn't show desperation, I don't know what else does. So for Behrend, what are you gonna do against this? Like, how do you even come back? Because of course you're gonna lose Dragon. It's only the second one. You don't have to worry too much. That's fine. But I mean, what is the opportunity? Do you actually go for this Dragon steal?
No. Well, here's the problem. If you go for the steal, it's a one-way trip. Letters doesn't have flash. If you go, even if you steal it, you're now 5v4 up against the Behrend up team. So I actually don't like the fact that Behrend is even sniffing around this Dragon. I'd much rather see them push out the lanes while they can.
I mean, they're looking for it, and it's dangerous, and that's actually going to be an arrow as well. Shockwave was the only thing they expended, so, you know what, it's not the full dive, but that still puts them in a bad position because they even glanced at Dragon. This is, you can rest now, going for that fight. However, because that kill came through, now they're about to take a look at the HP bars, one life to trade for a push on the mid lane. GWU maybe go like, hey, that might be a chance. The PSP are like, hey, we got gold. We'll take that one.
Yeah, and look how low they got. Even though You Can Rest now dies, Behrend have to reset, and they can't defend on this particular push. They've got to wait for Aminur Cheese, and you've actually got to sit in base a little bit. It's not an instant heal either. So GWU, they're coming out ahead because they're already so far ahead. Orbital, I think GWU is playing a little bit fast and loose. They can afford to. And if that works, that's an instant win for them. So they can keep trying to do that even though it didn't work out the first time.
And because of the fact that, honestly, You Can Rest now, I think, did that, and it's just like, that was a limit test right there. You still have the Hull Breaker, now you go ahead and pick up that IE. You are more than ready to do that once again and be an even larger bully. I believe that is actually a fort being built up, either that or it is a Bloodthirster, right? Brain cannot really figure out which one they want to opt for. But GWU, they are pushing the boundaries, and as you said, trying to close out the game now as we see that spread, Renekton towards that top side, and Knight and Seal Hua chasing into the mid with Sneaky Beagle for support.
Yeah, I think I'd even like to see an Immortal Shield Bow actually for You Can Rest now, because right now, if you have that shield, you start getting the kills, and the lifesteal is going to be more than enough to keep you alive. Bloodthirster, it's great for additional damage. Maybe you can one-shot. I think he's got enough with IE. We'll find out, because You Can Rest now is pushing bot. And if you're Behrend, I think your best bet is still to collapse in on You Can Rest now. If you can kill You Can Rest now, you can kill everyone else. But if you can't, then he'll get there before anybody else drops in GWU.
It's such a coin flip situation. This is something that no one ever wants to deal with, as this mid lane is being shockwaved into oblivion, but not from I'm in your cheese. The slow cut through on Cam Bam is actually going to do work, as Jackie Love is trying to make it happen, but You Can Rest now. Going to drag Letters into a spot that I'm not sure they actually want to. Arrow comes out and lands on the Ornn. Instead, it's going to be death to Letters. You Can Rest now sends one more. Feathers go out, but it's still Jackie Love to get exhausted and run down. You try and flash away, but you can't flash the slows. It is going to be the rundown of ages. George Washington University say thank you very much. Double kill tonight, looking for another execution running to bot lane tower, but the inhibitor is more than open. Cam Bam has a flash, says give me that kill. Flash onto the Karma, and insta death for Reaper. When the Reaper gets reaped, you know things are dire.
10 seconds for Letters to come back up, but it's Avai and an Ornn. They have no wave clear. They need 20 seconds for Jackie Love and I'm in your cheese. GWU, though, they're taking it slow. They're trying to walk in the minions. They're finally here. Is it enough?
I don't know, but that's going to be a triple knockup. Maybe you can slow them down. Knight
Oh,
actually ate a lot of that damage. Because of that, you have to run. Braum wall goes up, but they're two melees. The wall's not going to do too much. Instead, the
It's enough.
extra
Jackie Love is
strength.
back.
Bam Bam says thank you very much. The feathers come out to deny, and the Hextech Gates will get one away. This has been a push of pushes as the base is in shambles right now. GWU got so much off of basically a can we do it factor?
Sneaky Beagle's bush positioning, man. I can't believe that's under turret range. That's so disgusting. Knight ate like 3 turret shots because of that. If not for that, I think GW could have pushed in. But that's huge for Behrend. They're still surviving with slivers orbital, but surviving nonetheless. And both the Nexus turrets still stand. Nice thing too, because they snuck away that Mountain Drake earlier, GWU, the Elder Drake has been so heavily delayed. GW is still looking at Behrend as a win con, not at Seoul.
I mean, at this point, though, I would rather just have the ability haste and attack speed because GW are just very close to finishing off this game. So let's go ahead and take stock. PSV last time, they tried to challenge for this dragon and actually got routed by You Can Rest Now. You Can Rest Now sitting on what looks to be 3.5 items, having that BF sword in the back pocket. Not just that Sneaky Beagle, we didn't even get to mention fully completed Magi Soul Sealer has been quietly building that one up in the back pocket. 1 in 0 and 20. By the way, the ultimate support jungler. Brutal output in the utility belt.
And because he is going that full utility, the support build, it's not AP here. You've got the Redemption, you've got the Ardent Sensor. You don't see the effects of Sneaky Babel quite as much. It's kind of just like, oh, Knight survives, you know, Cam Bam Stam survives. That's what Sneaky Beagle is bringing to the table. Slow push into the mid lane with supers, and You Can Rest Now, waiting for his own wave to arrive on.
Let's see what they can do. The slow crash mid. GWU say we don't really need to fight this. Instead, we want to secure this last outer tower and maybe Cat's execution on the back end. No wards to see the rest of the follow through from PSV. That's going to be a look at it. Cat's
oh,
good shockwave lands on two, but the arrow denies any follow-up. And honestly, that was a chance, but that chance is freaking gone. That's going to be the slaughter in front. But how quickly they died. The Orange grabs one. HP bars are lows on Cam Bam, and now they have to run away. I spoke wrong. PSV come out in a 1-for-1. And hey, that's a dub if I've ever saw one. You draw 10 stacks off the Magi's.
Yeah, jungle is traded here, but You Can Rest Now is still up, and he's the critical big team fighter. Knight gets caught, but no follow-up.
Yeah, because someone had to go back and deal with the super minions as the 3v4, but that's the wall backwards, wrong way for the Braum. Knight trying to shred through the Ornn and gets it, but the feathers do so much work. Jackie Love getting some much needed kills as I'm in your cheese, soaks up some much needed CS.
Oh, good dodge from You Can Rest Now, and Behrend Orbital, I told you they did it once, they can do it again. And they did lose a Nexus Tower. That is important to note while all that was happening. So GWU, they still chip away bit by bit, but the influx of gold is going to be massive for Behrend.
It feels good, and again, it goes down to the player that we spotlighted after game number 1, having one of the only real, I would say, well-standing lanes after that early game. This time around, 6, 4, and 5, 150 gold bounty on their pocket, and not only that, the Navari Quick Plays with an upgrade behind it from the Ornn. This Xayah is going to feel much better. Not only that, I'm in your cheese completed their 3rd item. They now have firepower as well, and you saw it in that fight, right? GWU got a little bit surprised, so this dragon will be interesting to watch.
Yeah, and Sneaky Beagle, as much as you're great for supporting and keeping people alive, you can only do so much. And Behrend's initial burst, you saw that shockwave from Yoshis, can do massive amounts of damage to the squishy. So GWU have to position a little bit better, especially Knight on that backline there on this Ashe here. Mobile AD carry, you don't have an easy out. It flashes down, play further back.
They're going to look for it right now. A little bit of a scouting mission, but You Can Rest Now. As first global objective goes down, Behrend is the next one up, so Behrend may have to find another output or just give everything on the map. At this point, though, not a single chance at trying to fight for that objective, and because of that, it will be granted. Instead, trying to focus on the smalls, take one step at a time. Good root, Bornhorn goes up, knocks them around, and that's going to be a good burst, but that's going to be an arrow in the back line. Again, soloed out. Behrend goes down, and now the follow-through can occur. Red team does slay Behrend and slays some lives as well, but the snap back causes some problems. That's 2 down. Behrend already a little bit negative. Cam Bam goes straight to the back line, but the Feather Storm is up and available. Cam Bam trying to run away and keep Behrend alive, waiting for cooldowns to work out. Knight and Sneaky Beagle trying to get in the face and help out, but Cam Bam now up, gets a great heal off of the feather shred through the HP bars. Are you kidding me? PSV fighting back so hard right now. That's gonna be Knight looking for another arrow. Work, and Frail, you're doing some dang good work. Sneaky Beagle saying, you ruined my score, I'll ruin your life. Double kill for the Daisy. Daisy for the dub. Triple kill for the tree. And an ace for GWU.
And that will be it, Orbital. Letters is up in 2 seconds, and Knight is almost dead as well. Knight positioned so well. Both AD carries positioned so well. Vault Breaker
Oh, the
Good.
root is a problem. Look at that, the knockup as well. You can't cleanse that. You're
Okay.
wondering if it was over. That's gonna be it. GWU take the dub, a celebratory TP in from You Can Rest Now, as it is a 2-0. GWU put another dub on the board.
Man, what a good second game overall between both of these teams. If game one was GWU showing us what they could do, you know, just taking over the entire show, game two, Behrend was able to punch back, and you saw it once again. Jackie Love's positioning, absolutely clutch. I'm in your cheese. This time not in support, in the mid lane, looking really, really good as well. And you know, we had questions about Behrend's ability to sort of work together as a team, but towards the end of that second game there, we were seeing it. The ults, the chains, the CC, it was all finally coming together, just a little too late.
And honestly, I think that's okay, right? Both teams have currently locked in their playoff position, which means that they can take this time to kind of work at it. And you said it all the way at the beginning. Yes, there are some communication issues. Right there, it felt like those kind of melted away. That barrier just was like, it's a little bit waning. And that's great. I would actually love to watch and see how well Behrend are able to go into the last match of the season and see how much cleaner it's gotten from there. But tonight, GW take the dub. And I got to ask you just for a little bit of fun, because game one we saw some amazing shakeups, and then game two, of course, we saw some other players step up for the side of GW. Who do you think had the most impact for this squad?
It's got to be You Can Rest Now for me, for GW. I mean, game one, the Oriana was just taking over things. And even in game two, the Yone as well. The double in the bot lane, the triple in the mid lane, it just, You Can Rest Now became such a big issue on this Yone. And I'm going to be honest, for GW, I know that they were trying to work a little bit more on their shot calling, on, you know, trying to clear up their early game, especially on the macro play. I couldn't see that overall because their laning is still so strong, and I'm still waiting for a team to really contest GWU a little bit in the early game. Even their losses against UAlbany, the laning was still really strong from them. So GWU, man, overall, like, somebody stop these juggernauts.
Well, maybe the Juggernaut just keeps running through the competition, and to see how well they run and what they've been doing behind the scenes to become a Juggernaut, we are going to have an interview with one of the players from George Washington University. Let's go ahead and go to a very, very short break. The ECAC will be right back in just a bit for the interview. Well, that was a game and a series of sorts, 2-0 to GWU, and they played a fantastic time. Of course, to give us a little bit of analysis and information about this juggernaut that will be storming off into the playoffs, we have their coach. We got Superman coming in from the skies, flying from around the world to give us a little bit of insight. I mean, that had some ups and downs, mostly upstairs. Superman, were you pretty happy about that performance?
I'm satisfied. I think our boys could have done better. I really was nervous coming into tonight's evening because we had a roster swap that happened just over the last week where we're bringing in a new jungler. Our jungler that played from last year but had not yet played with the roster we've had for this entire split. So I was nervous about communication. And a great example of that, I think, could actually be the level 1 of Game 2. Production, I think, has it prepped for us. We had a plan. Our players actually were like, hey, I'm pretty sure the Kai'Sa is just sitting nonchalantly in Tribrush at level 1 to level 2. We even took the Braum for this reason, not only just the Ornn, but watch here as my boys miss not 1, but 2 skill shots onto... If either of those land, man, it's just a free first blood. But I guess 80 carry diff? I don't know. Just the schmovement there on Jackie Love. Or just the lack of patience and communication, which left me wanting, I can say.
Whoa. We got 80 carry diff night like that. My ball was the only one who landed a skill shot.
True. The 80 diff is on our side, of course. A nice movement there by my 80 carry.
True. Now, speaking of the change tonight, though, Superman, you bring up the fact that, we had that roster swap. Sneaky Beagle coming in, I think you described him as a legacy player. So, coming in, of course, comms is always going to be a hard thing to try and fix. First game in, what was it like? Was the team able to adapt well? I mean, his game 1 looked absolutely amazing.
Yeah, game 1, I think, is just a little bit of a Rek'Sai diff, right? This is his favorite champion, and it just came through. He had like a 70% win rate in solo queue, so leaving that open for us is why we just wanted to snatch it up blind, and you saw his performance on it there. But from the communication, what you're asking about, he's definitely got the ego for a jungler to go with it. Anybody who's ever heard him on comms knows he likes himself a lot, and he is smart about the calls. Like, he's willing to put his 4 teammates on a leash and say, this is what we're doing. And that's actually a boon to many teams, especially at the collegiate level, where you can have some difficulty finding some leadership within a squad like this. And it's really good to have that now joining us halfway through the season when we've had some difficulties there in the past.
Is that why you put him in Ivern? So you can say, come play to me. I have to play to somebody else.
The Ivern was literally just for the level 1. I really just wanted the freedom to get an early first blood. And he's played some Ivern recently, and the clear is just so simple for you to then give agency. We drafted like the 3 winning lanes that we wanted to play aggro with. The Ivern being able to just play around solos especially was part of that early game plan, and level 1 should have been free, and I don't know, there'll be some discipline or something for my boys back at home.
The boys are scattering already. They know what's coming. Well, last question from me, Superman. I want to ask you, with tonight, especially since you set everybody up to have such a fantastic time where everybody had potential to carry. There was the Rek'Sai and the Sylas. Even Soha got an opportunity to be a carry on Sylas. And then game 2, winning lanes across the board. Who would you say was MVP tonight? Who's the one boy who's not going to get smacked when you get back?
Yeah, so I actually let my team know after game 1. I said, hey, everybody has really great KDAs. Everybody's feeling real good, riding the high into game 2. I love that energy. But I wanted to shout out David, who had a little bit more deaths than everyone else. This is Solhua, the support player. And I said, hey, the reason we were able to do such a flexible draft there, Sylas R3, and that throws an entire wrench in the enemy team's plan. Somebody who tuned into your guys' stream was also saying that you guys weren't really sure where the Sylas is going to go, which is the whole point. And that's my support's champion pool. He loves to play crazy things like even the Belveth support, Lissandra to answer Rakan. We didn't bring that one out this series, but maybe in the future. So game 1, I'd definitely give that to my support for letting us have that kind of flexibility in draft. And game 2, honestly, I might withhold an MVP for my team. Just at level 1 and just almost throwing twice in the enemy base. We got to clean that up with that kind of gold lead. But joking aside, Cam in the top lane, he's been putting a lot of work in recently, and you saw the difference. Obviously, when a player's put on Ornn duty, I don't want to say anything against the enemy's top laner because he played cleanly for the most part. And when you're against the Renekton, you got to play a little more respectful, and Cam, he put him in the dirt, and that's what I want to see out of my top laner.
It was fantastic to watch. Again, you know, a couple slips in level 1, but we can, at least us as casters, can glance over that one. For you guys, though, you have pretty much solidified yourselves as first and second place heading into the playoff section. So my question to you, of course, as a coach, are there any teams that you're looking forward to playing against? Anyone else that you've been kind of keeping your eye on?
Yeah, with the Swiss format, I'm not sure if we get a rematch next week in the final week of play against Albany, who took the series off us a couple weeks ago. Or was it 3 weeks ago? So I'd love to play against them if we get the opportunity. But we did get word from the ECAC that there was a little bit of a mixed up at the start of the season with the way they sorted some teams. And so there may actually be a spot for us to get slotted into the elite league for playoffs instead of playing in this one, because our player ranks, especially recently, have been hitting that higher echelon that makes us somewhat ineligible to play for contenders. We're waiting on official word from ECAC. We don't want to make it unfair in playoffs. Like, if we're just too high rated, then we want to give a better, more competitive environment to the teams that have, I mean, I say that, but we lost to Albany, so that's a little embarrassing if we're supposed to be first place just by the rule set. So we'll be waiting on administration to tell us what the actual outcome will be. But I am looking forward to, if we get the opportunity, another game against Albany, because I'm sure we'd love to run that back.
I mean, that would be such a treat to see. Again, Superman, congratulations on your team's victory, and thank you so much for the interview.
Yeah, thank you, Orbital. Thank you, RMC. It was a great cast. Hope to see you guys again soon.
Of course. With that, though, we are done here, at least on the main side, because that was one of 2 series. This one went 2-0, but there's more on the other side of things. Brooklyn College and the team that we were just talking about, University of Albany, are currently playing in a 3rd game coming up on the other side, so I think we'll go ahead and hop over and see that one as well. My name is Orbital. With me has been the best minion to ever wander off the Rift, as he has to go back into the Rift to go back with family for the evening. It is Random Minion Caster. Shout out to all of our production as well, Colton and Ebrom, giving us all the play-by-play action. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.